Well, Matt, I was just laying around doing nothing, thinking about what ifs, and something popped into the old noggin. What's the meaning of life?
42.
Good point. That's the episode. Hi, and welcome to Neckbeard Nation, the show where we talk about neckbeard shtick from an atheist perspective. I'm Buck. This is Matt. I've got my goblet of pop. Matt's got his hand of the day. And today we're talking about something near and dear to all of us, the meaning of life. So, we're going to start by saying, what is the meaning of life? It's different if you're a Matt, a Callisto, or a Buck. So we're going to try and figure out if there's an overarching structure that can define this for all of us. So we're going to say, what is meaning?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of definitions out there, and we were looking into a bunch of different things, and there's a lot of different opinions on it, and I think it would probably be best to start with the ones we definitely don't agree with, and that would be in, what would you call it, ordained meaning of life, or a God-given meaning of life. We definitely don't agree with those, so
right.
Maybe we should give some examples of those. Like, one would be the Buddhists basically live for reincarnation, or no, not the Buddhists. What was it? Hindu. Sorry, I'm not up on these things. So what is it? The Hindu, they believe in reincarnation, so they're trying to reach this. Would it be like a godlike state, or
yes?
Okay, so they believe that they have to live through these lives, and is it like suffer through these lives to reach?
It's to try and be as
humble,
as pious as you can be. Yeah, and then to try and use that karma to be a higher life form and eventually leave the planet.
Yeah.
And so, a life experience, that sort of life experience relies heavily on the supernatural, and it doesn't concentrate on any sort of social aspect. It's just basically
putting all your chips on the afterlife, basically, and not really living for this life and living.
Yeah, so that's
better this community kind of.
That is a common thread through the ordained meanings, and we'll find that in the Christian meaning. We'll find that in the Islamic meaning. We'll find that in the Jewish meaning. Yeah. One that's a little bit closer, still ordained, but not as spiritually based, although there are certainly spirits in Buddhism, is to have this middle way of life where you don't do anything too extravagantly, don't do anything too frugally, and you try to have a calmness to what you do in life and yourself in order to... the theory is that if people are to do this, then they'll be more temperate and have a better community as a result.
And then, I don't want to get off into a whole other thing, but is it true that Buddhists are atheists?
No.
Okay, because I hear that a lot.
You do. Actually, I asked that very question to my sister-in-law, who was raised Buddhist. And she was telling me in very strong terms that they are very much not atheists.
Okay.
They don't have a single god, but they do believe in a fairly complex spiritual realm with lots of different levels of spirits that they can pray to, and there's some ancestor worship involved as well. And you see that when you go in their home, they have little shrines with their pictures.
Yeah, I always wondered how
they have fruits.
There's all these shrines and everything, and oh, come on. So Yeah, it's weird. So their meaning of life is to be more middle life. What was that? Is that
middle life.
Yeah, Middle Earth. What was it?
To go the middle way.
Oh, okay, middle way. So, and what is the payout for that in the end? Do they believe in a heaven or a reincarnation or what?
Yeah, well, they do believe that they live on in a spiritual way, but I don't think the idea of it is the payoff.
So it's more this life?
Right. It is different from other religions more in that respect, that it is more for this life. And certainly you got more of that during Protestant Reformation times, where they tried to change that Christian culture towards something more based on this life. And there are several organizations throughout the world that are trying to base things more in that sense.
I guess that's a good thing, really.
Right, but it's still an ordained meaning of life.
Yeah.
And what we believe in is what I call a variable, or a meaning of life that is self-determined and changing.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that self-determinism is the most important part of a meaning of life. That it's something that you can relate to at a strong level, and something that you believe is the most beneficial. And if you can come up with that, then you're well on your way to trying to be as productive of a member of society as you can be.
So that's more of a you make your meaning type thing?
Yes.
Okay. Which I feel like I ascribe to more. I'm always trying to find my meaning, make my meaning, and it's always kind of changing. I don't know. Do you feel the same way, or?
Yeah. I don't feel that mine's changing as much.
Okay.
I do.
So do you have like an end goal in mind, and you're just going towards it, or?
I think my general goal would be best stated as to create a world that goes towards the end of a world that is more, that is happier, that is more technological, that people have less want, and that there's less violence, less war, all of that lovely stuff.
And I would say, okay, so obviously that's not ordained by God. How did you decide that this was the correct meaning?
Well, this, I think a lot of it comes from the old golden rule.
Yeah,
which
exactly,
is...
and that's what I was going to say. It's the same for me, It's I mean, I guess I could sum it up as leave the world a better place than when you found it, or at least try to.
Sure. I would sort of maximize that and say, try and leave the world in the best way you can.
Okay, so actively pursue making it better.
Yeah. And that's part of the reason we do this show. And why while you're very helpful in your own personal life, I try to be as obsequious as I can.
Yeah, actually, on that note, I had talked to one of my religious friends this morning, and I told him we're going to be filming this show, and actually the meaning of life came up. I didn't even tell him what the name of the show was going to be, and he's like, why do you want to help people so much? Because he knows that I actively try to help my friends, and I'm always there to help them. And he's like, why do you want to help people so much when, what do you get out of it? I'm like, and I tried to describe to him that this community, this helping people, benefits everybody. If I help somebody, they're going to be more likely to help me. And that's not my consciousness in it. Like, that's not why I do it, but I realize that if I better the community, it's better for everybody.
Right.
Them, me, everybody. And these things existed before religions did. We knew about these things before we had religions. And religions either co-opted them or people want to ascribe them to religions. It's like, no, these things, we're communal society, communal race, and
humans are a very social species.
Yeah.
We rely on each other necessarily, and as more advanced we get, we rely on each other even more. And that's one of the reasons that the world is slowly becoming a less violent place, is that our interreliance on other peoples around the world becomes greater and greater as time goes by, and we become more connected.
Yep.
And
So it turns the whole world into basically our own backyard, our own community.
absolutely, and you're less likely to engage in immoral activity against members of what you consider your own community. And if you get to the point where you have a world community, you're going to reevaluate these sorts of things, like a meaning of life, where people are going to start thinking, hey, what's something that can benefit all of humanity that doesn't involve subscribing to a religion, things like that.
That's where, in your more active approach, you included technology, probably, is because it helps us create that community, is what I'm imagining. That's pretty cool. A more active role in the meaning of life.
Right, and certainly that leads to some of my own personal bugaboos, things like transhumanism.
Yeah, actually,
things like that. But it's hard to make turning yourself into a computer the meaning of life. Just basically trying to improve things will suffice for now.
On a side note, I heard a quote on Twitter earlier. We're trying to be active on Twitter, if you guys haven't noticed, but
Over 400 followers.
There was this quote. I'm probably going to butcher it. It said, "There's humans alive now who will potentially be able to live, potentially be able to be immortal, but they can't afford it." So it's like we're on the verge of this technology, but the way our society is set up, it's like some people are going to miss out on it. It's so sad to think about,
Yeah, and certainly that can be applied to a meaning of life. In that, does it change depending on one's mortal state? If you're going to be, transhuman and immortal, does that change your meaning of life? Because you no longer will really feel the need to advance civilization as much.
Well, also,
if you feel like it won't benefit people, since they can all just be immortal.
Well, the other thing is, the condition of mortality gives you more of an incentive to act, because you only have a finite amount of time.
Sure.
Whereas if you're potentially immortal, you could take your time on things. You know what I mean? You could research one subject for 50,000 years and move on to another.
Right, it's the economics of lifespan.
Yeah, it's cool to think about.
Yeah, you have more demand with the less years you have, and you kind of put more value on experience, as your economics graphs often look like this. And as that goes up, value goes up of these experiences, and you find yourself in a place where you have to think differently, or you're going to be either breaking society down, or wasting resources on trying to improve a society in the transhumanist case. And so you get to a place where meaning of life becomes variable on a day-to-day basis, on a second-to-second basis.
Yeah.
For me, I try not to vary mine at all, but I know you have said that yours varies a lot.
Yeah, I think mine varies a lot, but I'm just the type of person that likes a lot of different things. I like to research a lot of different things. I'm not really an expert in everything, but I'm always looking. I don't know. I don't want to pigeonhole myself, in the work I've done in the past, and in my research or whatever, my learning, and I kind of apply that to all aspects of my life, even the meaning. It's like I try to. I guess it's just got me thinking. Now that we're doing the show and we're studying, I'm trying to describe it more.
Right.
And I don't think it has to be pinned down personally. it's just weird to hear how yours is more solidified, and I wouldn't think of mine as pinned down at all. Like, my meaning changes with maybe the place I live at the time. I moved around a couple times, and or the job I have, or
right.
It's like it's hard to describe.
Yeah, no, and certainly I can see a perspective where my more rigid meaning of life would seem more dogmatic, since it's so set in stone. Yeah. But
well, like I'm saying, like when you were a student, your meaning of life was to be studious, or you know what I'm saying?
Not me, but okay.
No, but you know what I'm saying? It's like, as you go through the stages of your life, I think it kind of changes. Like, right. I was using the example earlier, like, when I was a teenager, my hormones were flowing. My meaning of life for me was to try to hook up with females, and now that I'm married, that's a little hard to do, so I have a new kind of meaning. I mean, trust me, when I was a teenager, that was my meaning of life. So.
He's taken ladies.
But, you know, so it's just cool to think that this ties back into the religious thing. I'm not sure if we mentioned it, but Christians, we'll use Christians for example, think they have this meaning ordained to them by their God, but in reality, their meaning is changing just like ours is outside of that religion. They just don't really, do they not notice it? Or?
Absolutely. There is, when it comes to a lot of the modern conservative issues, a lot of the stances that they are taking are very different than stances that the church used to take on these issues.
Yeah.
Certainly.
We kind of touched on that. That's how different sects are branching off.
Different sects branch off that way, but also as religion is dragged kicking and screaming into the future, they'll say things like, "Oh, we were never for slavery. Oh, we were never for racism," and anything like that, because they know they can't do that anymore. Yeah. But people who were studying their religion before secular people came out and said, "Hey, we've determined that this is stupid. We can't do this. It's horrible." Yeah. They would have preached that.
So in that, going down that road, do you think that the people who owned slaves and they were the people that use the Bible in those ways to justify what they're doing? Is that them attributing a meaning? Like this is my meaning, is to own slaves? I wonder if that's...
I have a feeling that there's a lot of hucksters
that
are doing that.
They could probably take advantage of it.
But certainly there's an element of, this is the religion I believe in, and this is what I'm doing, and since I believe in my religion and I'm still doing this, it must be part of my religion.
I guess it's more...
circular reasoning.
Yeah. A more direct example would be one man, one woman marriage.
Right.
That's more of a direct meaning. My meaning is to go forth and, multiply or whatever. So that's more of a direct. I guess the slavery thing wasn't as a direct example. So...
While there's a lot of polygamy in the Bible. But...
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. How do they cherry pick, and this is the meaning, but then they think it's weird, but then they have all these outside factors that attribute meanings, but they think it's all, I don't know, how they justify it.
No, if you're a Christian, you're not supposed to, you're supposed to keep kosher.
Yeah.
But, it was decided that they weren't going to do that because that made them seem too Jewish. The same reason why they separated the dates of Easter and Passover so fervently, because they wanted to make it seem less Jewish. And the creation of Christmas as this big holiday, same thing, yada yada. You can go on from there.
Okay, so yeah. So back, I guess. Okay, I'm losing my train of thought. So as far as how they have their book to come to their meanings. Mm-hmm. You have your meaning of life.
Yes.
Do we have a book, or do we have any one set doctrine? And then, so what would be the most ideal way for us to come to our meaning, or should we have one, or no, or should
the best meaning should come from a dialectic, and as such, it should be.
I'm sorry, what is a dialectic? Okay. Is that the thing from From, what is that, Doctor Who?
What?
No, that's dialect. What are they? Yeah, okay.
I do not watch Doctor Who.
Oh.
So, I will say that it should come from a method of questioning, where you answer very personal questions about yourself, and try and determine from that.
So on a personal level, not like we all get together and find the best meaning of life and then try to follow it. It's just case to case basis for now. Would it be?
Well, I think forever it's a case to case basis. Okay. I think that's the only way you can do it, because we're all differently wired, part of different sociologies, part of different cultures, countries, and there's no one way to do it for everybody. So, well, that's the end of the film. Now, here's the meaning of life. Thank you, Bridget. Well, it's nothing very special. Try to be nice to people. Avoid eating fat. Read a good book every now and then. Get some walking in. Try to live together in peace and harmony with people of all creeds and nations. So that is the show.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's been quite a big week for us. We've made a bit of a splash on Twitter, getting more people watching the videos, and I like the direction we're going. Big shout out to all of the new people on board this week. And for me, and for Callisto, that's a good night.
Yeah, thank you guys. This was hard to do research on. There's just so much out there. I suggest you guys check out the wiki. Just look for meaning of life and check out the wiki. I mean, I was looking at it and I was just overrun. It was hard to study throughout the week on it. There's just so much, and we hope you guys look into it and share with us what meaning you get out of life and what meaning you apply to your life.
Right.
And yeah, thank you very much, guys.
Peace.